How to feel amazing in your marriage. So when your marriage is on the rocks, right, and you are trying to rebuild it, how you feel matters because it impacts your way of being and your performance, right? And while we encourage men to pull their bullets, in other words, get rid of their insecurities so that their unwanted behaviors are gone forever, which does happen when you pull your bullets, we also recognize that pulling your bullets and mastering them takes time, right? We get that you need tools in your arsenal to be able to manage your emotions, at least in the short term, right? And there are a few things that you can do immediately to kind of alter how you're feeling in your marriage. And using the tools we are about to describe are so critical so that you remain on top of your game, right? Especially if your marriage is on the rocks, you're trying to rebuild it, your wife is going to test you a lot, right? Otherwise, what ends up happening is that you take guidance and counsel from your emotions. You're unable to have higher willpower, and it will damage your efforts to rebuild the relationship. It will have you fall back into behaviors that you don't want there in the first place. Okay? And I'm emphasizing the short-term stuff here. Your long-term goal is to pull your bullets, is to get rid of your insecurities. Because when you do that, it biologically alters your wiring. So the things that you were doing automatically, you will no longer have the urge or the threat to do. Survival behaviors like, over-explaining, defending, yelling, snooping, addictions, alcohol, drugs, escape mechanisms, all of these things that most men fall into, unwanted behaviors, yelling, right? They go away when you deal with the underlying root cause, which are your bullets. But pulling your bullets is building a muscle. It takes time, just like when you go to the gym, right? You pump your biceps and you go look in the mirror first day, nothing's going to be changed. But you do that, you don't look at your bicep for 30 days and then you go look at it, you'll see a difference. Same thing with bullet pulling. So in the meanwhile, while a man's mastering bullet pulling, he needs to focus on two things that I want to talk about. Okay? And they'll be in a way a little bit foreign to you. Or you've heard about them, but it'll be a little bit out of the perspective we're providing will be a little bit different. Okay? Okay. So first one, let me just bring it up here. Manufacturing context. Okay? Now, what is context? In the perspective we're speaking to, context is your reality. Okay? So by default, our go-to contexts are negative because of our evolution, right? Like back in the caveman times, we needed to survive. And if we weren't aware of our surroundings, we would not have, right? So this drove into us this need to always be on alert, which instilled various negative automatic contexts, or now take that over thousands of years of evolution, right? So the threat has changed in the modern world, but it still works the same way. You may not be threatened by the saber-toothed tiger. You may be threatened by somebody calling you stupid or somebody making you feel weak or whatever that may be, right? But there's a default context that comes with it. And when your default context doesn't serve you and it's negative, right? The emotions and the feelings that it drives will also be that negative. Okay? Now, you can master creating positive context that actually serve you and which allow you to see things from a different angle. Okay? And when you can manufacture your own context, right? Because you're in charge of whether the glass is half full or half empty. Right? Hope you see what I did there. Right? Glass is half full or half empty is a context. I'm looking at the exact same thing. It's a glass that's half full or half empty. The question is, which context are you holding that will have you determine that, right? Which context serves you better, the positive or the negative, right? So when you're able to, when I say manufacture, what I mean by that is think of contexts that are strong and work for you, and have you alter your reality and how you see things in the moment. Because when you alter how you see things in the moment, your way of being changes in the moment, instantly. Okay? That is super powerful. Like you're talking to your wife and she's taking you down a rabbit hole. And then you think of a context that serves you, that you know is strong. And we'll give examples of context in a second. And you think of that, and it puts you right away back into the way of being that you know works to be with your wife in that moment. You start getting out of the rabbit hole. You start to know exactly what to do. Okay?
Just come back to your
you do
your
the
glass.
example as well after,
Yeah.
because I had an example, but you're going to probably say something similar. So go.
Now I'm just going to go back to the glass half full and half empty. And for the engineers out there, the glass is twice as big as it needs to be. So, but yeah, in relation to context, right? It's situations happen in life, right? And the context allows you to alter how you, not only how you view those situations, but also how you view yourself within those situations. But I've shared multiple contexts, and I'll share some across my life. So, if I got a deliverable that I need to get done, I need to, just stay on task. I might use a context like FedEx. Why? Because for me, FedEx represents something that gets delivered, right? That's just, okay, just get it done, get it delivered, right? And people might say, well, FedEx isn't that reliable, blah, blah, blah. That's not what we're talking about, right? You can have
what it represents for you.
Right, is what it represents, and that's the key thing for everyone to get anchored in. Okay, what's the context that serves me, right? You go home, you had a long day, you walk in the door, and the kids are just bouncing off the walls, right? So your default might be, I just want to get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have the patience for this.
Oh my God, I had such a hard day now. I'm coming home, and I'm coming home to this.
Right, and you could switch a context like make it memorable, right? Make it or make it fun.
Create memories, yeah.
Right, create memories. Like switch into, okay, how can I snap out of where I am so that I can bring a different kind of leadership to this situation? Because I said you can walk in and the kid's bouncing off the wall, and you just want to grab them by the head and keep bouncing their head off the wall, right? But that's not. I doubt that is a representation of the man you've always wanted to be. But in that moment, your context, by implementing a context, you can completely alter that situation. You can completely alter how it occurs for you and how you occur for yourself. You move away from, oh, I'm so exhausted after my day. Oh, my life sucks. Oh, all I want to do is sit on the couch and, have a beer or chill out or whatever it is. So you can be responsible for how you alter yourself in situations and how those situations will alter for you because you've altered yourself. Right? A couple of other scenarios. Yeah, context I've mentioned many times with respect to just in life. One of my contexts is Gladiator, right? Because that main character Maximus, like what he represents for me, just that character, as I said, yeah, like that's aligned with the man I've always wanted to be. Right? So it's a default context I have in a positive way, and that get anchored in something meaningful for me. Other men have their grandfather as a context. Why? Because of what that man represented for him in his life. But so it's a super powerful tool, and as I said, it changes the perspective. It changes your perception of a situation, and it changes your perception of yourself within that situation. You're going to go do a presentation at work. Maybe like, oh, all nervous, the CEO is there, or 20 of my colleagues are there. But if you can again, switch the context to I know my shit, right? I'm not shit. I know my shit. And you go and deliver. Why? Because you've just altered this, you've altered yourself and you've altered the situation.
Wow. Yeah. Let me give one, I guess I have to chime in with one of my own contexts as well. So Monday night, we have our implementation call every Monday night. This is 3 hours, okay? And it's TBH members submitting questions and, somebody who's a day old in the program, somebody who's 4 years in the program, right? And anything in between. And I'm answering those questions. Well, I need to have a strong context, right? What if a question's asked where I don't know the answer? Or what if somebody's super pissed because they've come into the program thinking in 1 week they're going to rebuild their marriage. And after a week in the program, they're pissed because while everything is going by the book, they haven't done the work, they're losing it on the call. It happens, right? So how do I show up in those situations? And one of my contexts is Ashton Kutcher. Now, you probably know him as the actor, but he also runs a software company that develops software to stop traffickers, okay, who traffic kids, to stop them in doing that criminal activity, right? And I'm doing this for kids so that no kid has to experience the pain of a broken home. So every time I'm off on my game on that call, that's my go-to context. And when I think of that context, it puts me in the way of being that I know I need to be in order to navigate the situation. Okay? Just another example. Okay, let's go into number 2, okay, which is manufacturing confidence. Now, this is another short-term tool to be in control of how you feel. Is manufacturing is your own confidence, right? To be in control for a man, right? Because men act and then feel, right? And one of the things that happens oftentimes is that we as men, we rely on external people like our wife to have us feel a certain way, right? This goes for confidence as well. Many times, we derive our confidence from our wife, and it is not a reliable source. Why? Well, because her actions are based on her feelings, right? You act and then feel. The feminine feels and then acts, right? When her feelings change, her actions will change, which means her willingness to boost your confidence and be responsible for that can change, okay? That's not reliable for you. And in general, for the masculine, we're always looking for some level of certainty, something that we can rely upon, right? And that we cannot. So when you master manufacturing your own self-confidence, then you now have certainty to know that you can always rely on that. You can always feel confident without needing your wife for it. Okay? Super important. Now, what are things that you can do to actually implement this? One of them is called integrity checklist, right? This is where you have all these things that are a distraction in your life, projects that you have started, or things that you have started but you haven't finished, or things that you've always wanted to start but you never started them. These are laying down in your subconscious and are being a distraction to you. So the integrity checklist is a checklist of all of these things lined up, okay? And you taking action to cross off, to actually complete some of those things that you've started but you haven't finished, or haven't even started, but it's been there for a long time. Your wife asked you to paint the deck, right? Or and you haven't done it, right? Or you started this writing this small book that you want to do for children, but you never finished it. You've been promising your kids to go XYZ place, and you haven't done it. These all pile up and become distractions. When you create your integrity checklist and you start crossing them off because you're completing them, depending on the size of the item on that list, it will give you an immediate confidence boost, anything from 20 minutes to 2 months. Okay? 20 minutes to 2 months. If you haven't done your accounting for your business for 7 years, okay, and you get that taken care of, you're going to have a boost of about 2 months of confidence just from that, every time you think of that, and the peace of mind that you've done that, right? You going out and buying the paint for the deck to paint, that might give you a 20-minute to 2-hour confidence boost knowing that that's done, and anything in between. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah, like in relation to the deck, it's not just that his wife asked her, it's the fact that he committed to doing it, right? It's, hey, I told her I'd take care of it and I haven't taken care of it. And irrespective of whether she's asking him about it or not, he knows for himself. And that's why it's often, we know the stuff that we're flaking out on in life.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about other people highlighting it. Every time you stand in front of the mirror, whether you've delivered for yourself today or not, whether you've stayed in integrity with who you are or not. And yeah, the integrity checklist, as I said, irrespective of whether his wife is nagging him around about the deck, if he said, hey, yeah, I'll take care of it, and that was 6 months ago, and another season has passed and the deck's not taken care of, ignoring the impact of the relationship, there's also a huge impact to him on his own reliability for his own word to people, to himself. Right? And that's what we often have to live with. It's not about disappointing other people. It's about disappointing ourselves and losing that trust in what we're actually about and what we represent. So, yeah, and that in itself will erode your confidence. Right? When you're not reliable around your word, it's a killer of confidence.
Oh, yeah.
Because you start to know yourself as someone that's not reliable. And other people will. But as I said, fundamentally, you'll know that about yourself. You'll know, it's full of shit.